The Sermon on the Mount. We are doing a three-part episode on the Sermon on the Mount. In episode 1, we did chapter 5 of Matthew. In episode 2, we did chapter 6. And in this third episode, part 3, we are going to look at Matthew chapter 7. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus is asking us to act as saints in our daily lives, to act as He has told us to act as He did, to walk in His footsteps, to be faithful to His teachings, and that we can only be faithful to His teachings if we understand that His teachings are incarnated in Him. And therefore, we can only live as saints in a very close bond, a covenant bond with Jesus, so that in all our activities, He and we are acting as one, just as the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit act as one in the Blessed Trinity and in God's magnificent plan of salvation. So, a number of things Jesus is telling us that we need to pay close attention to as we try to live as saints. On the one hand, He wants us to stay completely focused on Him, and not be distracted by the lures, by the attractions, by the evil attractions of the world. And there is our enemy, Satan, who will constantly be striking at our heel, constantly be tempting us. And unfortunately, he does have an ally in us because we do have a gravitational pull toward sin. So we have an enemy working against us, working at cross purposes, working to destroy Jesus by destroying us. So Jesus is telling us, be very careful. He talks about not throwing our pearls before swine. It's a very crude as well as shocking comparison image that he's offering us. But Jesus is telling us, be very circumspect about the treasure that you have in your heart. This is a very precious treasure. There will be many who will mock it. There will be your enemies who will mock you because you hold this treasure in your hand. So be circumspect, be careful, watch how you speak, watch how you behave, watch who you relate with, make sure that you are always in company that draws you toward God and not away from God. St. Teresa of Avila makes a point when she says, when someone is moving toward conversion and from conversion toward transformation, it's very important for them then, in this transition that's taking place in them, that they surround themselves with people who can give them a lot of encouragement and support and not bring them down into discouragement, where then they will tend to give up the good work that the Holy Spirit has begun in them. And then Jesus also tells us you can only get to heaven through the narrow gate. He is the narrow gate. He talks about himself being the gate in John chapter 10, when he talks about himself as being the good shepherd, and his sheep who know him, they enter the sheepfold through the gate, who is Jesus. So he is saying, enter the narrow gate. Focus your attention on heaven and walking on the straight and narrow, which means being in covenant union with me all the time. Now, Jesus will teach you little by little how you can indeed be transformed to the point where in your consciousness, His presence is always there, even in your sleep. There are different ways of knowing that Jesus is present even in your sleep. How? One way of knowing it is upon rising in the morning, the first thought that comes to you is the thought of God. If you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, the first thought that comes to you is the thought of God. Clearly, your unconscious is being sanctified, it's being purified of the scars, the painful memories, the negativity, the poison that was still present in your unconscious. And so he also tells us to be very careful of false prophets who will act in his name and lure us away. And Satan can and will use false prophets as his minions to lead us astray. And so, in the wisdom of the Holy Spirit, he has bequeathed to the church over 20 centuries many, many saints who, in their experience of God, have come up with phenomenal rules for the discernment of spirits, to learn how to navigate through the vicissitudes, the gauntlet that is life, not being knocked down, standing straight and tall because Jesus is with us, and going through life unscathed because we are with Jesus. And the most well known for his rules for the discernment of spirits is St. Ignatius. St. Ignatius tells us there are constantly two voices within us: the voice of the Holy Spirit, who is continually drawing us toward God, and the voice of the evil one. And the voice of the evil one can only be loud and strident in our lives because, in some strange way, we are cooperating with him. And so St. Ignatius is showing us in his rules how we can keep listening to the Holy Spirit in the midst of our trials and tribulations as we go through our daily lives. And so, this last chapter on the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus then tells us who a true disciple is. A true disciple is someone who does not just take my name, but whose name, whose person has become part and parcel of my life. And so Jesus is saying, when you have become a true disciple, you have become Jesus. Lastly, he ends with the two choices that we are faced with on a daily basis. On what foundation will you have your life built on? Will you have your life built on the foundation of sand? Or will you have your life built on the foundation of rock? If you decide to have your foundation built on sand, clearly you want to belong to this world. You have compromised your relationship with Jesus. You want both him and yourself. And Jesus makes it very clear in chapter 7, you can't have God and mammon because they are total opposites. They are contradictory. And so you can only choose one or the other. And Jesus is telling us in no uncertain terms, it's best for you to have your home built on solid ground, on solid rock, because you are made for heaven. That's where your treasure is. That's where you are called to be. From the very beginning of this world's creation till the end of time and into eternity. God bless you.
Making Great Saints is made possible by Our Ladies Healing Center and God's Embrace Ministries. For more information on Our Ladies Healing Center's healing program, visit OurLadiesHealingCenter.com. For ongoing formation and daily discipleship through God's Embrace Ministries, visit godsembrace.org.